To you guys today. He was busy, so you got me. I was just over at Calvary and talking about the same topic. And it just strikes me how odd I should be talking about anything. But in the words of one of my great teachers, Dr. Wayne Dyer, he said the best way to learn something is to teach it. And I had that experience doing a big book meeting for a while. Get to learn the book by teaching it. And I spent the past week studying the parable of the Prodigal Son. And everybody, for the most part, just about everybody's heard of the Prodigal Son. And it could be, the most common parable that Jesus gave. But like anything, there's layers to something, just like an onion. You got to keep peeling back the layers to get to the essence of something. And let me first put in context what's going on in the story. So the Pharisees are accusing Jesus of eating with the sinners and the tax collectors. And Jesus launches off into three parables, one right after the other. Now the Pharisees, as just about everybody knows, were the religious elites at the time. They ran the temple. All Jewish life revolved around the temple. And they knew all about God, they just didn't know God, is what I think is going on here. So the first parable, first off, a parable is a short allegorical story designed to illustrate or teach some truth, religious principle, or moral lesson. So the first parable that Jesus tells is the story about the lost sheep. And in this story, there's a sheep herder. He's got 100 sheep. One get away. He goes out to find that one missing sheep. And when he finds that sheep, he rejoices. The next parable is the one with the lady where she loses a coin. She loses a coin, searches for it, finds that one lost coin, and then she rejoices. The third parable, and these are told one right after the other, is the parable of the prodigal son. The word prodigal means wastefully or recklessly extravagant. And that's something I can very much relate to. So we'll read the story straight out of the Bible. And it says, Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, kissed him. The son said to the father, 'I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fat calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead, and he is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard the music and the dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fat calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him." "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So, in this story, there's three central characters. You got the father, you've got the young brother, and the older brother. In Jewish tradition, back then, the younger brother got 1/3 of the inheritance. The older brother would get 2/3. But the younger brother, if you think about it, this is, one of the ultimate forms of disrespect. He's asking for his inheritance now. So it's almost like he's asking for his father to be dead now so he can collect the money. Like, "Dad, why don't you keel over already? I want the money." His father goes out and sells everything so he can give him his 1/3. He goes off, squanders it on wine, women, and song. Maybe not in that order. Blows it all and commences to hit bottom. So he hits bottom. And his bottom hard, this guy, because now he's feeding pigs, right? If you know anything about Jewish tradition, there's one thing they don't eat. A few things. One is pigs. So this is like the worst thing in the world. And he wants the food, the slop that the pigs are eating. But there's a famine going on in this country. So food is in short supply. So now the life of a pig is worth more than his life. That's why they won't give him any food. If you got a famine going on, the math is real simple. Too many people, not enough pigs. I'm going to give the food to the pigs. We need more pigs. And the famine. So he gets the great, brilliant idea that, even his father's servants back home are living better than he's living. So he's going to go back home, apologize to his father, ask for forgiveness, and become one of his father's hired servants. So he goes home, and he's not home yet. He's still a long way off. And his father sees him. This is a key concept that I learned. The father sees him a long way off because the father never stopped looking for him. He was looking for him. Comes home. The father welcomes him. Complete, absolute forgiveness. Throws a party. And starts bestowing on his son all the gifts of his sonship, which is absolute abundance. His father is a prosperous man. Says, bring a robe, put a robe on him. Bring sandals, put sandals on his feet. Bring a ring, put a ring on his finger. The first credit card in the world was a ring. It was a family crest. When you purchased something, it was wax, you put your mark on it, and they knew that you owed this money for those goods. So his father basically gives him his credit card. The older brother sees this going on. Or here's the commotion. It's easy to identify with the younger son. At least for me. And I know maybe for other people, it was real easy. But the older brother hears the commotion going on, asks what's happening. There's a party going on to welcome his brother back. And he becomes angry, resentful. And he won't even go in his father's house to see what's going on. Things were a lot different back then. People were a lot more respectful. To not go into your father's house was a big sign of disrespect. And he gets into this conversation with his dad. Father says to the son, "You are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again." I always thought I was more like the younger son. But the more I read and meditated on it, the more I realized I was more like the older son. Bitter, angry, and resentful. See, the older son should have known better because he was in the house with the father the whole time. But as soon as he saw somebody getting something that he thought they didn't deserve, he became angry and resentful at his father. He felt like he deserved more. Does anybody ever feel like they deserve more? I think right now I deserve more. I'm not sure what it is, but give me a few minutes and I'll give you a list. There's also a place that confronts me with the fact that truly accepting love and forgiveness and healing is so much harder than giving it. It's the place beyond earning, deserving, and rewarding. It is a place of complete trust. It is much easier for me to give forgiveness, blessings, and healing to you than it is to receive it. Because I don't have that complete trust. I always say there's several ways to know something. You can know something because somebody told you it, and now you know it. You may know something because you read it somewhere, and it's something you trusted. Or you might know it because you experienced it. And when you've experienced it, then you really know it. Kind of like the hot stove. Somebody can tell you you can know all about touching the hot stove with your fingers, but until you burn the skin off your fingers, you've not experienced the hot stove. Even though you've been around the stove and people told you that you trusted when you were little, don't touch it. So, the story, everybody always says, which brother are you in the story? Right? But at the end of the day, I'm both brothers. I am both brothers. And this is a story about relationship. You got the relationship with the older brother, the younger brother, the father. And I believe it's God that's the father in this story. And the lesson is the father forgives without asking questions. Who? And wants to bestow complete abundance on his son. So, that's what I thought about this. Hope you got something out of it. Thank you.